Hi, welcome back. In this lecture here, we are going to be talking about IDs and classes selectors. Now, in the last lecture, we already talked about selectors, but in this one here, the IDs and classes are a little different than the last selectors. All right. So if you recall, we had selectors here. I'm going to go back to selectors.html. Every time we use this, actually the style.css, every time we use this p tag, it styled everything at the same time. But we were able to style a p tag or a paragraph inside a div by just choosing the parent and then putting the children there, right? So we were able to target everything inside this div, but that's still not enough, right? What about if we want to target something specifically? What about if we want to target, let's go back to selectors.html. What about if we want to target this specific keyword right here, right? Sometimes there are, well, we can use an inline style element there, a style attribute, right? So we can go ahead and say something like, well, I, right, this is going to be italicized. So as a matter of fact, let's just make it a link just to, so we can go ahead and create a link here and not put anything there, but we can put a style here and say color black or something like that, right? So we come here and you can see that link is black, right? So we can put a style attribute in any of this element, right? To style a specific word in there. But now this could get very, very, very cluttered here. Imagine that we have to apply like 10 different styles to this a great keyword characters here, right? It's not very clean and it's not the recommended way of doing it. When you do an inline style here, most of the times it's for one element and it's once in a while that you want to do something fast. You don't want to do it when you want to apply different styles to it. Now, so the right way of doing it, and I'm going to undo this by pressing Command Z or Control Z. All right, the right way of doing it is actually applying IDs or classes. All right, so now, so let's say for example, I have these two paragraphs in here. All right, so let's just put this paragraph all the way up here because it's annoying me that it's there. It looks really separated. Let's just make it a little bit better, right? Perfect. I don't like that word annoying, but it's it was bothering me. I think that sounds better, right? But now, so the problem here now in this selectors.html is that all the paragraphs are going to be blue. What about if we wanted just this first paragraph to be maybe, I don't know, gray and the rest blue? How about that? How can we select that? Let's use IDs for that. So right now, let's go ahead and do a save as on this document because I want you to have this in your exercise files. And let's call this ID classes.html. Perfect. So now we have a different file that we can work with. So what we're going to do is we're going to target this specific item right here that is right now in blue, and we're going to override it. So, and remember what CSS is doing is overriding the default styles that the browser already has for our HTML tags. All right. So we're really not styling anything. We are overriding the style. Actually, we are styling, but remember that it's overriding because we have some default styles for those things already. All right, so let's make an ID, and the way we do that is super simple. It's just like an attribute. ID equals double quotes. All right, it's just like an attribute right there. It is actually is an attribute, but it's called ID because it's always going to be ID, right? But now, so we can name this ID whatever we want. Let's just call it first paragraph. And the way I do my IDs is like this: hyphen para. That's the way I do my IDs, with a hyphen there, or I might write it like this with a, this is a camel case style with the second word in uppercase, so that way you can differentiate the first word from the second word. But in this case, I'm going to put hyphen para for paragraph. I'm going to grab this, I'm going to copy it. All right, so now we put an ID on this first paragraph. How do we target that in CSS? Let's go back to our style.css. Let's go all the way down here. And here, the way we use IDs in CSS is by using a pound or hash symbol there. and then we put the name of the ID. All right, and that's why I copied that, because I wanted to paste it exactly the way I written that in the last page. So now we use the same thing here, basically the curly brackets, and then we put whatever we want to put there for the styles. So in this case, I'm going to use the same property there, and I'm going to override the original one, which is blue with a color like yellow. And as you can see, it overwrote that one there. All right, even though we are styling it blue right here. Now, IDs are actually a lot stronger than tags, because right now what you're saying to the browser, this specific tag has an ID. So I want you to respect this ID before anything else. So it's going to override anything else in there. All right. Now, classes are super similar to that, because classes can be applied the same way. So we can use a class like this, like an attribute. It is an attribute. And we can say first para. And we can name it the same if we wanted to. But now remember that these are two different values here, the two different elements, two different attributes. All right, same value, two different attributes. So it really doesn't matter if you name it the same, because we're going to write them differently in CSS. A class is formatted differently in CSS, and I'm going to show you right now. But now the second paragraph has a class of first para, right? So the way we define classes in CSS is with a dot notation like this. Dot, and then the name of the class, then curly brackets, and now we are going to be taking this and refresh, and as you can see now they're both yellow. Right now, of course, we can have other colors, and let's say something like purple. I'm just giving you simple colors. There are other colors, many, and you can look it up, but refresh and you can see that this is actually, I didn't even have to refresh my code. I always like to do it though anyways. But as you can see here, we are targeting that with a class. Now, what is the difference? You might be asking yourself, so okay, I know IDs and classes. Why is the difference here? That I see they both are able to target HTML and manipulate HTML, right? So when do I need one, and when do I need the other? Well, let's go back to that selector. Let's go here, table. All right, so IDs and classes. I'm sorry, I got lost there for a minute. All right, so and this can get really crowded here. That's really good. It's really good to have this working files, or kind of forget, because I usually use another co-editor called Sublime, because they're a little more advanced than this. And but anyways, it's another topic. So anyways, when do I use IDs and when do I use classes? Well, classes, you can use IDs and classes the same, but for best practices, classes are used, and by actually really good professionals, are used when you have a lot of different elements that have the same styles. So for example, if I have many paragraphs that I want them to be certain colors, I want them to be the same colors, I will always put a class on those elements. I will always put a class in them, because they're going to be many. IDs are used for only one specific item. So you would probably put an ID for, let's say, if this was the home page of a web page, I would probably put an ID right here in the body tag and call this home. All right. So IDs are used when you want to specifically assign a unique name to an HTML doc element. All right. So in this case, it's going to be, the body is going to have an ID of home. If I was in the contact.html page, I would probably put an ID of contact for that specific page. And if I had many different paragraphs, I would probably put a different class there for all of those paragraphs, a different class for all the H1s, and like that. When you have many different elements that are going to have the same styles, that's when you need the classes. All right, so hopefully you were able to learn something valuable in this lecture here, and I'm glad that I was the one able to show you. And this is really super exciting. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this lecture, and I see you in the next one. Take care, my dear student. Bye bye.